Hey, this is Malika of Evanston Live TV, and I have with me, I call her a visionary. This woman brought awareness to the city of Evanston about Juneteenth. Now, many people have heard of Juneteenth, many people have not. But I will tell you, in my years being in Evanston off and on for, I don't think I even want to tell you how long it's been because it gives my age away, but it's like well over 30 years um, living in off and on in Evanston. Um, I I never saw anyone celebrate Juneteenth or talk about Juneteenth. We definitely didn't learn it in school about Juneteenth. And it wasn't until Evanstonian Kemone Hendricks, who came up with the plan, the vision to have a parade and to educate the Evanston community about this holiday. Um, I mean, I learned a great deal from you bringing awareness to it because it wasn't even a holiday that was discussed in my household and definitely wasn't taught in school. And we know I've been, I pushed for that legislation, co authored a bill to make sure that we get all the information about Black history expansion. So I want to welcome to the show Kemone Hendricks. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Malika. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, yes. Well, first, I want to say thank you to you, Kemone, for just having the vision. Would you say that no one was really, I mean, there were other leaders in Evanston who, may have talked about Juneteenth, may have tried to, do some celebration, bring some awareness, but I would say you brought it home. You brought it home. What made you decide Juneteenth?
Well, yeah, so like you said, in Evanston, especially, we all know the late, amazing Hecky Powell. He did Juneteenth celebrations for many years. He also has a Juneteenth strawberry soda um, that represents his great grandfather who was born into slavery. And it was many celebrations. And it was also, a specific audience as well when it came to the celebration. When I first heard of Juneteenth, I, for whatever reason, was just amazed at the fact that this holiday that has existed for so long, not only I didn't know about it, but the amount of not just Black people, white people that did not even knew that it existed. And ever since I heard about it, I pretty much just started on this mission to not only make sure that it grew to the capacity that I envision it to be, but that it's also respected, right? There's so many things that is left out of the textbooks, out of our history. It's just disgusting, right? And then I saw this holiday, Juneteenth, that was just filled with so much culture, so much facts, so many things that is relevant to what's going on today when it comes to community organizing and social justice and the community efforts that it takes to make things happen within each and every community. Like that's what happened on Juneteenth, right? There was a law, a bill that was signed that was still being practiced over 2.5 years after it was signed in parts of Texas, right? Over 2.5 years. So that speaks to the fact that, just because something is passed and just because something is legal, people are still going to be practicing it, right? That's why organizations are so important. That's why community leaders are so important because there's so many different levels that needs to be addressed when it comes to inequities in the world that none of it can be overlooked, right? And that's what Juneteenth signifies, right? It signifies not just freedom delayed, it signifies the community efforts that has to take place in order for a law that had been passed for 2.5 years to be enforced, right? People, there are people who practically put their lives on the line to make sure that these slave owners obeyed the law, like essentially, right? And to watch us specifically now I'm speaking on Evanston, to watch Evanston as a community who pushes, equity, justice for all, celebrate July 4th on such a large level, I couldn't stand for it anymore. I couldn't do it. So that's why I started to do what I did. And the main thing and the main point that I led with and pushed with is how Juneteenth was viewed, right? It was viewed as just a Black holiday. It was viewed as something only Black people should celebrate. That's how it was viewed. That needed to be changed, because in reality, it is America's real Freedom Day. On July 4th, when you see the people in the streets celebrating, you see Black people, you see all different backgrounds and cultures celebrating July 4th, right? And nobody bats an eye on it, even though really only white men were free. That's the emancipation, or I think really for white men, and so how Juneteenth was viewed as a whole needed to be changed so that everyone could be included in it and respected on the level that it needed to be. And I think that is what was able to open the eyes of community members. And also, through the time, people say, like, the death of George Floyd and all those other countless murders, ever since then, people have been talking about Juneteenth. But it was still the way that it was viewed that was the eye-opening thing for, the rest of the community.
Yes, yes. I often wonder, why don't we celebrate the actual Emancipation Day, which, correct me if I'm wrong, January 3rd, 1863. That's when majority of enslaved people were free. So I wonder why we don't celebrate that day too. Why do you think that is?
Well, when it comes to that, when you say majority were free, what happened on Juneteenth, I think the reason why Juneteenth is more celebrated is that the community effort it took for it to actually happen. There were Union soldiers, there were abolitionists, there were many, of course, Black people who stood on the front lines to go down there to Texas to make sure that these enslaved people were free. So I think it's the whole significance behind it. And ever since that day in 1865, a year later, that's when the first Juneteenth celebration happened. So there were so many significances tied into Juneteenth, which is why I think most people celebrate it as America's real Freedom Day. I'm sorry.
Yes. Okay, if everyone can please remain muted. We will open up for questions. You all can put that you have a question in the chat, and I will call on you as soon as we open up for questions with Kemone Hendricks. Okay, but until then, everyone, please stay muted. Okay, so Kemone, I love what drove you to do it, because 4th of July, we have our feelings about it. We were taught to celebrate it ever since, we were kids. But when you really look into the history of it, it's like, should we really be celebrating 4th of July? Emancipation Day, I think that's a day that definitely should be acknowledged. And Juneteenth, because that is a part of our history. And, a lot of our history, they're trying to act like it didn't happen. Trying to act like it didn't happen. And I'm an advocate for it. I've been to Springfield and fought for it for the state of Illinois. And thank God it passed. J.B. Pritzker, governor, thank you so much, signed off on it March 8th of this year. So I know what it means. So I know that it was a fight for us to get that passed. So what was the journey, the experience like for you to get just Juneteenth acknowledged in just Evanston?
Well, so the way that I view social change and, pretty much anything, when it comes to isms or inequities or, not really the way I view it, but the way I handle it is by creating. So my energy is best used in creating. So what I did was take the way that I thought that it should be viewed in order to grow. And I started creating around that, right? Around America's Real Freedom Day. I did a celebration at Noise and we did the virtual, and then I did all these other mini educational pop-ups, collaboration with Black businesses, and I started creating around that, right? There's many different ways to address inequities. Like, there's many different groups per se, but I'm a creator. And once I have a vision, my energy is best put towards creating something, because what I have found is that, a lot of times there are people who may not, and I'm not saying everyone, but sometimes there are people who may not, who are supporting something that is not right, quote unquote, because there's nothing else there, right? So if you create something else there that's more positive, most people will start to look at the latter like, oh, that is like, so I really didn't do a lot of talking about July 4th, right? I just did a lot of talking about Juneteenth and what I thought it should be, and started creating around that. So like a lot of people, when they're, tied, especially to, things that, they grew up with or throughout their family, even if it's negative, you still have this attachment on it because there's nothing else there. So once you create something else for other people to join in on, then that will be highlighted, the latter, the negativity, and, they will start to come the other way. So that's what I found throughout my, experiences, throughout my activism, is that, it's, most, not, I'm not saying everyone, right? Because there are people that's still going to support the latter no matter what, right? But I think majority of people who really want to do better, be better, and really want to address the inequities in this world and fight for everyone to be really, quote unquote, free. And not just when it comes to Juneteenth, but other things. When you create something to replace that, it's almost like an easier transition and an easier opening of the heart to that thing, if I'm making sense.
Yes, yes.
So that's kind of, how I went about it.
Yes. Now I remember when you did the first event, was that 2019?
2019.
2019, you did the first event, and I remember you were so worried. You were concerned because it was the first one, and it was you and Hecky, and you had organized it though. You had really put a nice event together, and you were so worried that people weren't understanding what was happening. And I was like, girl, you did an amazing job because it was packed out. It was at the Noise Center.
It was,
And
yeah.
It was packed out. I thought you did I think everybody thought you did a phenomenal job, but that was a huge, ordeal to just, not an ordeal, it was a huge event to take on. And I just thought that you did amazing. So I remember you and I having that conversation. I said, well, next year, do it up. And girl, you took it to a whole nother level. Next thing I know, come on, having a parade with a marshal. And it went from just, this room at Noise Center to a parade and, all sorts of, programs, and kids got involved, and you had dancers and performers. And unfortunately, COVID hit, but you did it virtually, part of it. And then part of it, people did it in their cars, the parade line. So you worked it as best you could during the pandemic. The pandemic, goodness gracious, it threw a monkey wrench in so many things, but you kept it going. You absolutely kept it going. So, girl, that was a lot. So I know it's been a lot of work for you to put this one together. So I see that the city has collaborated, jumped on board. I've never known the city to get involved in Juneteenth or Emancipation Day. or anything like that. So how did that collaboration come about?
So, when I initially started planning the parade, before the pandemic hit, I did already have a few conversations with the special events department. And then so that was kind of already in the talks of, them supporting a Juneteenth parade, because I had contacted them, filled out the application, like, I was going full steam ahead. A lot of details hadn't been worked out at that point as why this partnership, but they were very, supportive of it. And, I was still on it, blah, blah, blah. And then so when the pandemic really went full force and everyone stopped, they stopped. I was like, I'm not stopping. And I just continued on my own. And that's how the virtual parade got started. And I just pretty much, went full steam ahead on my own. And, I did that for several reasons. One, because I felt like we needed it. I felt like it was going to be an opportunity for something to still happen, right? Everything was shutting down. Everything was being stopped. And at times when I would stop and think about Juneteenth, the only thing I could think about is like, there's no reason why something like this shouldn't still happen or can't still happen on a virtual aspect. It was just never a thought to not do it anymore. And once that type of seed is planted in me, it's just, just going to happen. And I understood why, everyone else, stopped or, couldn't support it at that time. There was a lot going on. And I just felt that this is something that the community would need. And I just really wanted to find a way to make it still happen no matter what. Because in my mind, I just really didn't see a reason why it shouldn't. We had so many other avenues that is yet to be tapped into during a pandemic that I wasn't scared to tap into. So I just did.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're glad that you did. Because it's looks like it's growing. So I don't know. I get the feeling maybe come next year is going to be you, then the city, and other people doing a Juneteenth. So even though it looks like it's kind of, it'd be great if everyone just connected with you and it was all just one big collaboration. That would speak volumes, and that would be absolutely awesome if everyone just said, okay, Kemone really lit the fire under Juneteenth with the first parade. If we can all come and organize for the next one together and everybody take different parts and bring their energy to it, that would be awesome. But you know how people do. Everybody's got to take this and go do their own thing. That's why we have a gazillion nonprofits.
Yeah, I am starting to see that. And, just to speak on that a little bit, my main focus is for it to just grow, but I also want it to properly grow. And when I say properly grow is that I do view this as something that the Black community should take on its shoulder when it comes to branching out. And when I say take on the shoulders, I mean lead it, right? White people should be involved. White people should be celebrating. White people should be collaborating appropriately, right? But when it comes to, holidays, when you look back on July 4th, white people, you guys had that, you guys had that. It's Juneteenth's turn, and that involves Black people. So I encourage Black businesses and Black people and organizations and community to go out there and start doing their own, Juneteenth this, Juneteenth that, or whatever it may be. And we all come together to parade in the streets, because the key is not the celebration per se. The key is the parade, because the parades have a meaning to it, right? And when you parade in the streets, it brings a larger awareness to something. It speaks volumes, right? And to be quite honest with you all, they really don't want us to parade in the streets in the name of Juneteenth. When I say they, right? The other, am I frozen or?
You were for a second, but we could still hear you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. You know, so they, quote unquote, really don't want us to parade in the streets in the name of Juneteenth, right? That's why the parade is so important when it comes to bringing a larger awareness and meaning and coming together as a Black community, as a community as whole in support of the Black community and the other injustices that are still going on today, right? That's why the parade needs to grow and happen every year, because at the end of the day, they want to be parading for July 4th. There's no reason why Juneteenth should be held to the smaller standard of just a celebration, you know? Yeah. And we need to get loud. We need to, you know, be out there and make sure that it happens every year, because that is what is going to make it grow and going to be able to pour into Black organizations, Black businesses, the Black community, and build upon a community in general, is a parade in the streets, have the streets shut down, you know, and all of that. Fireworks, everything on Juneteenth.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And I guess, you know, we can't do a parade in January for emancipation, January 3rd. So
did you know there's actually another day? Sorry to cut you off, Malika. There's actually another day in August. I have to look up the other day that some people, so it's January, June, and also another emancipate that people practice in August as the Black Emancipation Day. There's actually a couple. So it's let me look up the exact date for you. And again, Juneteenth has this larger significance because of what it took to make it happen, right, on that exact day. And ever since then being celebrated as Freedom Day, right? So, you know, as a Black community, let me get the specific date for you. Because a lot of people celebrate August as their Black people as their celebrate August as their emancipation instead of Juneteenth as well. It's just really, you know, and they do it more on a private level, you know, at home or in a church, and then use Juneteenth on a larger scale.
It'd be great to combine it all on Juneteenth, just so that people have awareness. God, like how many times we tried to be free. So that's like, yeah.
August 8th, I believe? No, sorry, no. Sorry, I'll text it to you after. I won't.
Okay. Okay, so you have the big parade going on, and what else will be happening this year? Because it looks like you keep growing each year. So it started at Noise. Great, we love Noise Cultural Center. Started there, and then you grew into the parade, even during the pandemic, which was awesome. And now you have others doing their Juneteenth. I don't know if it's in collaboration. I guess it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you lit the fire, and there's going to be a fabulous parade for Juneteenth. So what else do we have to look forward to Saturday on that day? It sounds like you have a lot planned.
Yeah, I think it did turn out to be a lot, which is good. It's pretty much going to be like a full day of celebration. So we have the parade in the morning, and then at the Civic Center at Ingraham Park, there will be speakers, performances, a drum circle, food, arts and crafts, just like a whole bunch of celebrating after the parade. And it's just going to be, I think, you know, as it should be.
I know you're featuring a lot of artists at your Juneteenth. I know my mom's going to be one of them.
Yes.
Yes. So looking forward to seeing all of this. This is going to be exciting. It's going to be so exciting. Even though the story behind it is just kind of heart-wrenching when you really think about it. It's it's tragic. It's really tragic, but um, I love that you turned something so disturbing and dark into, something creative. So turn the pain into something creative, into something to celebrate. So, I mean, we've had an emancipation 3 dates where we have tried to be free in our history. So I love that you're doing this for Evanston and brought so much awareness. Because I'm telling you, I know Hecky was doing some things most definitely, but I didn't see as much energy and fire and awareness until Kemone Hendricks hit the scene and said, "We're going to do this," and it just seemed like the city lit up. The city lit up. So thank you so much for that. If anyone has any questions for Kemone, please use the raise your hand signal or let me know in the chat, and I will call on you to ask questions because I will monopolize the conversation for sure. So you all, please let me know. Raise your hand, and I will call on you. So what is next? Kemone, you have so many things in the works. I was talking to someone today, and I said, you know what I respect about Kemone is the girl is about business. She is a hustler. She's all her wheels are always spinning, and it's always outward to help the community. And I love it. You don't sit down ever. When do you sit down?
Never. Never. So funny. I always get asked, when am I done? I'm like, or when am I going to stop? No, when am I done? When am I going to stop?
Mm-hmm. Now, I remember when you did your first Evanston name, give everyone the name of your organization.
Evanston Present and Future.
I remember you started it in a church in the basement, and you were feeling so horrible that, like, it was a low turnout, and you were doing this for teen mothers.
And I did it on Easter. And I scheduled it on Easter, and I was like, wait, why did it? I was like, oh my God, it's Easter weekend. I remember that. Yep.
But it spoke volumes to your heart and your vision. And still, you didn't let that stop you. And then your organization started to grow. It seemed like every year it just started to grow. So what else do you have planned?
So, that's just really it, focusing on growing my organization and just allowing it to, kind of have a tree of its own, right? And, really just building on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just, keep going.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what you have planned next, because I swear I'm on social media and it'll like Kemone pops up, your organization pops up. She's doing that. She's got earrings, she's got all sorts of things, t-shirts going on, and you do so much. You're working with Democratic Party of Evanston as well. You were out there making sure people were registered to vote.
Yeah.
I love that. You were at different every time I looked up, you were somewhere. Even during the pandemic, you were putting yourself out there. Girl, just doing it. You're one of those leaders in our community that just keeps it going.
Thank you.
Keeps it going. And then reparations, I don't know if I'm allowed to, reparations is almost a bad word in Evanston right now. So I don't know whether to say
that was pretty funny.
I don't know where it's like the R
No.
word. I don't know whether to, we'll always give respect to Alderperson Robin Ruth Simmons for bringing it as a conversation, a real conversation. So now she opened up the door to a real conversation about it all over the country now. Though I have not heard anything. Do you know the latest? Because I know the very first reparations meeting, you were there and you were helping. with their committee, with their team, and you were having a lot of input. Uh, so what's the latest?
On reparations.
Hmm.
I'm not exactly. I don't think there is an update as of yet. I mean, I know you're heavily involved as well, Malika. So I mean, as wise as updates as it pertains to Evanston, I know for a fact that it has caused a big division within the Black community, on is it real, is it fake, that sort of thing, which is why I decided to make this year the theme to the Juneteenth this year called A Journey Towards Real Reparations. And, it's symbolic in many senses that the parade starts at Robert Crown's and ends at the Civic Center. But really, what I hope to bring about, as the speakers go up and the celebration goes on at the Civic Center, is that everyone can really come together for real, right? Like for real, and realize that I think at the end of the day we all want the same thing. And like I was describing before, my way of going about things is creating, right? That may not be the same for somebody else or another group or whatever it may be, but that's maybe not to say it's good or bad or right or wrong or whatever that may be, right? And a journey towards real reparations when it comes to Juneteenth is just really a time, hopefully, that the Black community can sit at a table, quote unquote, and hash it out in the name of hey, look where we've come from, Juneteenth, you know what I'm saying? And just really making this about us.
As far as me being heavily, I attended the meetings, and I definitely spoke. I gave thoughts and suggestions throughout that year. None of us were really listened to in those meetings, but that was the extent of my involvement in the reparations. But I haven't heard any updates, any more information.
We'll have an update during the speaker performances at the Civic Center.
Okay.
Maybe there'll be an update then.
Way to sell tickets.
You never know.
Hey, Jeffrey, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, Kemone, as you know, I was just in Tulsa, listening to those topics down there, and the feeling from the speakers like Dreesen Heath of Human Rights Watch, very powerful speaker, and we've seen her testifying in Congress, was the reason eyes are on Tulsa so much is it's so clear. It's not like, well, somebody who I was related to over here. It's the people who they were displaced. They're descendants of this horror and some living members. And their feeling is if it's not even it shouldn't even be called reparations until it said it should be give me my money. Because nobody was ever arrested, no money was ever paid by insurance, and no money, their savings weren't even given to them from the bank because they claimed their bank cards burned in the fire. And so the drive there that was so strong was like, it's so cut and dried. And yet it took 98, 97 years for the truth of Tulsa to really come out. And so I think a lot of prayers have to be sent in that direction too, because if you can't do it in a straightforward case where people have done the research all the way down to the source documents of the insurance claims and the bank records, I think we have to send a lot of energy that way, because we can't do it under a straightforward circumstance. It's gonna just dissemble. And great kudos to both of you for keeping this alive when you know, there's a lot of things to be interested in, and it's really an important message, and because it's such a confusing message, because hooray, the last slave was freed, but not yet. Also, I think is one of the problems. Um, so it's got to be kind of celebration of that moment, and I think what you're doing is taking it now in the future. And I think the energy you bring to keep this alive and going is uh, moves me for what that's worth. So I thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you
Yep, I agree.
for that, Jeffrey. Yeah, Jeffrey, if you don't mind, um, I'm curious. Like when you hear about the story of Juneteenth and Tulsa, and even the Evanston reparations that we have going on right
Right.
now, what like as don't let me assume, you're a white man, correct?
I'm a white man. I mean, I should say I'm Jewish because the real white people don't think I'm a white person. So, right, Jews will not replace us. You know, the chant of the white supremacists. So to white supremacists, I'm not white, but benefiting from this system, I am white.
Okay. Okay. So when you hear these stories, like what goes through your mind, through your heart, through your soul, and how do you think it should be repaired? How do you think it should be repaired?
Well, I think the topics that have been talked about, the one I can't get my mind around for or against is what would cash grants be? How would you figure out what would they be for? I think that should be very much on the table, but I can't take a strong stance. But building up the things, talk about housing, education, healthcare, because clearly that's left a whole, you know, part of our population behind, all the divisions, and they're undermining over 100 150 years as they've reinvented slavery over and over. I was sort of interested but sad to see, was it Soul of a Nation or Soul of America, that news program, when they called Evanston, so I'm from, the other thing I should say, full disclosure, is I'm the only white person in my family. If I'm white, I'm the only white person in my family. So I've been getting educated from some strong children, spouse. When Keisha and I moved out here from New York, we didn't know that Evanston had this reputation for diversity. We just had these kids and they were comfortable. They weren't out of place. We weren't out of place in Greenwich Village in New York, and we didn't feel out of place here. So we stayed. We came out for grad school and stayed. Okay, totally. Anybody know where my thought just went?
We were talking about how you think
So I guess
what repair should really look like.
Yeah, so again, I just sort of say where I'm coming from in that, but I mean, it's a question of whether you're trying to tie to individuals or communities, and because I just as a problem solver, I don't know how how it can be traced to individuals. I just don't know. But the investments, I mean, I sort of thought this was farther along than I guess it is. I thought the marijuana tax was going to some specific programs related to healthcare, housing, and education. Is that gone up in a puff of smoke? Sorry.
So I do have to say, Jeffrey, just a takeaway for you is, you know, if or when someone asks you, you know, what your thoughts on how the Black community should be repaired,
Mm-hmm.
the correct answer is the Black community has to answer that.
Okay.
That you as a white person does not dictate, or you should not have an opinion per se on how the reparations should be paid, but, you know, support it in general. That's something that so that would be the correct answer.
All right. No, I appreciate that comment. And I think I was just saying that I was responding to things I've heard. But good point. And I'm also raised by my kids to remember who I am in this story. So.
Yep. Thanks.
Yes, yes. I mean, I'm curious him having Black children, his thoughts on what their repair should look like.
Good.
That's, yeah, yeah. Wow. So come on, it's 7:45. I was supposed to let you go at 7:30. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you for chiming in. Come on, so please let everyone know what this weekend is looking like, where it gets started, where it ends, where they can find the celebration with the food and the art and the music. Let everyone know where all this is taking place.
Okay, so the parade will start at the Robert Crown Center at 11 a.m. You want to get there a little bit early. Staging starts at 9:30 a.m. Then we're going to parade down Dodge Street and end at the Civic Center. At the Civic Center, there will be additional festivities, food trucks, performances, speakers, arts and crafts, a lot of different things going on. We have Juneteenth t-shirts that you can get at antiracistasfuck.com. Oh, can I curse? Oops, AF. So it's antiracistaf.com. You'll be able to get your Juneteenth t-shirt from there. We also have Juneteenth yard signs and different celebratory items that you can get and participate in the parade. Also, you can go to www.kemonehendricks.com to register for the parade. You can also get sponsorship information. You can get yard signs, and that's pretty much where the Juneteenth celebration page lives, and all the information. But pretty much, you can register your car in the parade. You can walk in the parade, or I don't know if you probably don't have time to get a float, but that's an option as well. But you can definitely register your individual car to be in the parade. And we really encourage everyone to participate in the parade, because that's really the point of the parade, is to bring a larger awareness to Juneteenth, especially now that has been passed through the Senate to become a federal holiday.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, it's amazing. I don't want to tell how old I am, but it's taken this long for
you're not old at all.
For it even to be recognized as a holiday. It just, when you really think about it, it blows my mind. It blows my mind.
Right.
And so many people say, "Oh, this happened so long ago." Well, Tulsa, there's still people alive to tell the story of Tulsa. So, I mean, these stories were not that long ago, and we're just now getting to a point of bringing some real awareness and education, and I won't say all, but some being taking accountability for what took place, and that they're still benefiting from it. And though many of us have made a lot of progress, it's still a challenge. It is still a struggle. It is still painful. We still deal with it. And I mean, Evanston reparations was a perfect sign of that to me. It was a perfect sign that, yeah, we still got a lot of work. We got a lot of work, that we were willing to just accept a quarter for all that was done. Yeah, that it spoke volumes. And I want to thank you so much, Kemone, for taking this on. I know, Hecky and others, got it going, but you really lit the fire and really brought it to the forefront where all of Evanston is talking about it. I mean, people are asking, what is Juneteenth? Right. What is Juneteenth? What does it mean? Like, what is that? And now you have more people asking about Tulsa. Like, so more and more people are having the conversations and asking questions, and people are taking action as well. And I think that that is powerful. So thank you so much for your vision, your energy, being a beautiful Black woman, determined to educate your own community as well as others, and trying to bring us all together. So thank you.
And thank you for
Thanks.
inviting me on this platform to talk. Thank you for all that you do as well.
Thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone that joined us here on Zoom. You can catch this on Facebook. We're live right now on YouTube, and we will be on Instagram because we're going to end in just a second. So it'll be just enough time to get on Instagram. So you all, please, please be sure to share this and pass the word, share the word about Juneteenth this weekend. And let's get people educated, get them asking more questions, get them just knowing what the heck, how this country came to be and what really happened and why we are where we are. So we all got to take part and engage. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Kemone. And Kemone, one more time where people can reach you if they have questions.
www.kemonehendricks.com. KemoneHendricks.
All right. Thank you so much. And you all have a great evening. This is Malika, Evanston Live TV. We had Kemone Hendricks. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jeffrey, for chiming in. So you all stay tuned. We have more amazing people doing amazing things in this beautiful city that we call Evanston.